Hey. How you doing? Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. Here in the pre-show, waiting for ye old couchbot to fire. Hope you are doing well where you're at. Looks like I got the mics running today. And boom, boom, boom. Yep. All right. Uh, I don't know what it is. Since I updated to Catalina, which you would think that like I might do that a little faster, but I waited because I have a lot of broadcasting software that isn't quite always up to date. So it's always like I update what seems to be a 6-month echo behind whatever update is out there, because if I lose a piece of my software because it hasn't updated, then it's like if my microphone, if the driver for the mic in hasn't been updated, or if oh, and it looks like we've got some lag here. We're gonna let that sort itself out because I want to make sure that that's gonna work okay. Looks like it's back up now. Weird. Okay. It was just kind of lagging there for a second. I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. Anyway, computer, please try to keep up. But I was just talking about updating your software, and I updated to Catalina mainly because I was wanting to do some screen tethering, only to then discover that like the iPad that I have here that I use often, I often have an iPad off to the side so that so that I can be watching this without like having to switch back and forth on my laptop to see if you have comments or questions, and also to monitor whether the live stream is running. And long story short, one thing wasn't quite up to date with the other to be useful, so that didn't work out. But along the way, OBS doesn't work the way that it worked 6 months ago, and now I'm having to do all sorts of little weird workarounds here. The quick keys don't quite fire, so it's really affected some of my editing that I do. But I digress. One thing I will say is I've been using StreamYard a lot. I'm participating in a conference where I'm basically co-hosting several days for the Society of News Design, SND, or at SND if you're on the Twitters, and it's exposed me to StreamYard, which is pretty nice, to be honest with you. The funny thing though is I've got OBS here, and with StreamYard, I could basically do everything I'm doing in OBS online. Like you just open up StreamYard and it does it in a browser. The difference, honestly, is there's a service fee to run StreamYard, or OBS is free. So and these are the types of things that you need to be thinking about when you're looking at open source software. It's like OBS is open source. It's not perfect, but is it better than, I guess the breakdown for me is always, is the paid thing that much better than the open source thing? And most of the time the answer is no. Now there are like several open source streaming services that operate a lot like Zoom. Jitsi, I think, is the one I'm thinking of. And if you're ever wondering, like, do I need to get a Zoom subscription? Well, first of all, you have Google Meet, and Google Meet might be good enough for your services if you're needing to do like some streaming or some screen sharing. But there's also Jitsi, and actually, I just want to look that up really fast. I want to get the URL for you. Jitsi video. Yeah, Jitsi.org. Yeah, this is. I'll share my screen really fast because I think this is one of those things that I think is worth seeing, especially for those of you that are here on the early part of the show. And I'm just gonna, I am streaming. I have to check. Um, and oddly enough, no, that CouchBot has not fired yet. But Jitsi is really interesting. I've used it a couple of times, but this is, you just click here to start a meeting and you email people to invite them in. That's all that you need to do. And what's stupid, now that I look back on it, is I've been doing all this. I've been doing all these portfolio reviews for people as part of the conference that I'm participating in, and I could have just used Jitsi and changed how I was partitioning that, and I didn't back away from it and fully think about whether we really needed to use Zoom or not. So Jitsi's pretty interesting. I would definitely, if you come over here to the old Twitters, I don't know if I'm following Jitsi, but I am now. But it is literally an open source project, something you can do for free, much like OBS. And the reason I talk about this is, one, it's a pre-show, and this is where we talk about that sort of thing while we're waiting on the old CouchBot to fire. But two, a lot of you have asked about like camera setups, lights, and one of the things I wanted to mention today was software. Now, I'll go ahead and share back, and this is OBS. You're looking at OBS right now. OBS is open source. It works on just about everything. It has the ability to transition back and forth. It has a lot of tools, and if you're in any sort of live streaming scenario, I think it's a pretty good one to have. Let's see here, OBS, open broadcaster software. There it is. So OBS Studio, it's free to use, and it works on everything. So that's one thing I really do like about OBS is the fact that if I switched over to a Windows machine, it would be I could still use it. There are certain things that I can't do that with. I think ScreenFlow. That's another service. That's another bit of software that I use. Yeah, ScreenFlow. Now, yeah, that's the problem. Mac only. I don't like things that are just Mac only. I really, and because I pride myself as somebody who basically will focus on making our the things that I show you. I want you to be able to use them regardless of the type of computer that you're on. But CouchBot is taking an inordinate amount of time to fire this morning, so I'm gonna stop real quick and check on that. Let's hop over to the YouTubes just to check our stream. And typically speaking, if I am streaming, it will show up pretty fast. So let's go to your channel. It should be, yeah, it says that we're live. So unfortunately, it does look like the old CouchBot is struggling. So we will go over to Discord real fast and check on the bot. And I should be following the server, but I don't know why it's... Oh, weird. Okay. Yeah, I don't see anything that is saying that the CouchBot is struggling, but yeah, Matt the dev, that may not be functioning. Looks like they did something this morning, but CouchBot is not firing. So I apologize for anybody who might be watching along. Just know that I do track these things, and occasionally that happens. So we're gonna have to go, and hopefully you'll see the recorded version of this soon. All right, so we'll get this underway. No CouchBot this morning. Sans CouchBot. That sucks. Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. It's time for the feedback loop. So good to have you back along. We've got, we've got Maddie and Abby in here. Couple of people I've already kind of gone back and forth with. Bren, very painful observations she was making, and wow. I always try to nurture customer personally. When I talk about gnarly, wicked problems, and Bren had brought one up about nurturing customers through, and she noticed this problem a few places, and I look back on my own personal practices there, and I try to be very focused on nurturing new clients through. I do think that is definitely something that you should do as a business practice. Neil Patel, the SEO guru, points out that 80% of your revenue will be it's the classic 80-20 rule. 80% of your revenue is going to be generated from 20% of your customers, and because you never really know which 20% that is, early on you want to nurture everybody through that you can, because that part of that 20% could be in that early number. There will be people that naturally drop off, but that nurture thing, and that's the only way you can actually grow. Maybe you grow your bottom line number, because they're, instead of the 20%, those super users grow as a cohort themselves. So very interesting stuff there from Bren, and then Ricardo. We got a new person in the door yesterday. Ricardo joins us. Welcome. You'll see Ricardo cartoons floating through the Discord channel. And one thing I love to see from anybody that's new joining the program is like first day, sign up. By the end of the day, 2 assignments turned in. Boom, boom. Love to see that. That is hitting the ground running. That's exactly the attitude. When you're walking in the door, the good news about this program versus what you might experience at a traditional university or even a boot camp is when you sign up, we're ready to go. Let's go. Let's get this. There is no like wait for the orientation or we'll see you in a month. No, it's like go right now. And I think that this is an adjustment that I prefer, because you're excited about signing up. You're excited about getting started. You just did the act. You just took the first step. So I'm going to make you wait? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. So without further ado, though, let's jump into the other things that we have. I'm going to start with, I'm not going to start with Jitsi. I'm going to start with Abby, and oddly enough, Abby is literally typing as we go. I'll come back to that, Abby. What we're going to do right now is we're going to go back over here and look at your color accessibility project or exercises, and what you'll see here is she's been given a few exercises looking at color deficiency or color absence. That is present in a percentage of the population, and what may not be clear is what is tritanopia, what is protanopia, what is deuteranopia, what are these things? And if you go through the curriculum, you'll find out that this is like the absence of greens or the absence of reds in the retina, the absence of the ability to process those colors. And one of the things that I can tell you right away, I could not recognize that. Now this appears to be the absence of red or magenta, but I could not sit down for you without a tool and tell you what is happening here. I couldn't. I'm not a vision expert, okay? But that's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking for you to understand how to operate a tool so that you can see what's happening here. And the tool that I utilize here is called Color Oracle. Color Oracle is a fantastic open source piece of software that you can install on your machine. And really quickly, you can drop down and look at what it's like to be somebody with that color deficiency or that color absence. So I'm going to look at Deuteranopia, and what you'll see here is like once we did that, you could very clearly see like the item on the left is the same as the item on the right now. So this is the standard vision version of it had like this pink behind it, and that's now gone. All right. If we did the same thing here, it says it's Protanopia. Let's check that out. And sure enough, and what you can tell here is the yellow going across. It goes from being very vibrant on this side and muted on that side to the same once we activate that. And the whole point of this is to give you an opportunity to understand how somebody else is seeing the world. Okay, it's not very often that you can like just put on a special pair of glasses, but this is actually putting on that special pair of glasses onto your computer. And I realize in some ways I feel like I'm giving away the shop here, but this is so important that I think every designer should know about tools like Color Oracle. So this says Protanopia again, and sure enough, these are both Protanopia. And what's so strange is like how vibrant the blue is and how it just becomes this muted purple. And then we come over here to Cat in the Box, which, by the way, I've never noticed a website, or I've never seen a website where I want it made me want to A, buy the product, and B, buy a cat. Because I want to have a cat that has one of these little chalets or a giant piece of cheese to play in. Maybe I should just send these to friends that have cats. But this is said to be Tritanopia, and sure enough, you can see. And what I've tried to do is give you an opportunity to see like something that carries across. And you can see that where this is typically yellow, in all other instances, it turns pink. It turns pink. So it's clearly an absence of yellow sort of thing. You get the idea. So, good job there. And really, Abby, this is more, can you operate the tool? This is not, I mean, all you have to do is successfully operate the tool and you'll get those right. But, it's one of those things where what I've found in using the platform is, like, I've got Figma full screen. And by the way, there are Figma tools that will do this as well. I use Color Oracle because it allows me to view any site with those tools. I don't have to be in Figma. So there are certain tools that I like to use in Figma, but there are other tools that I really prefer to exit out of Figma and see. Like if I was wanting to view the internet, I wouldn't want to like screen grab it and put it into Figma. I'd just want to use Color Oracle. So that said, let's go to exercise 2. So exercise 2, you were presented with, oddly enough, this was the cat in the box item, and what you've done is it's interesting. Like, let's start down here with Incredible. I think Incredible, the adjustments that you made were pretty strong because, like, the original of this, it was a situation where they had gone with like a thin, or maybe it was like a regular, but it was a regular, and then it was like a gray or something. Like, it was one of these, like, I'm a cool designer and I'm going to make these subtle grays that make this so much softer. And what it actually did was it like just killed legibility. Like, you just couldn't read it. And keep in mind, when we're looking at these things, we're not able to zoom in like this. Like, typically speaking, like you're looking at it like that, okay? And if you were in a situation where you're using like some subtle grays on a black background, that's in the type is small like this, that's gonna kill. That's gonna be disaster for somebody actually coming in and figuring out what it is that your site does. So I think you did a very good job here. Here, less so. And I want to explain what I'm getting at here. Obviously, the easiest thing in the world would be to put the teal box back here. Okay. But the problem is, like, I still have the problem here. Like, this is white on a yellow. That's still not great. What I believe you're really looking to do here, because this is the original, what you're really looking to do here is simply come in and say, all right, well, what if that was just black? And really the same thing for this. I mean, okay, suddenly it's fixed. Okay, but this is about recognizing, not just how do I fix the accessibility issue, because that kind of does it, but it also, like, inserts this weird, like, shape into the design that doesn't really fit there. It would be similar if you came back here and you said, oh well, this is like the, it's like this dark gray. So instead of making it white and brightening up, I'm just gonna put like a white background back here, and certainly that'll make it show up. Well, I guess it doesn't. Weird. Oh, it's because sorry. Yeah, now it shows up. But it's the same scenario. It's like, instead of doing that, you said, "Oh, well, that's stupid. I'll just make this white." Same thing here. Instead of putting this shim of a shape behind it, just make it black. Call it done. Okay? So, I'll leave that for you. Let's go to part 3. So part 3, and when we're talking about color accessibility, we're also talking about what we do with shapes and structure that stretch beyond color. Like there's so many things that you'll see out in the wild where somebody has just, like, they've put a gray, or they've put a green, or they've put a red to indicate, oh, this is active, or this is good, or this is bad. And in fact, what we should be doing is using other indicators. And that's fine. I understand. You want to use the greens to show progress. Just like up here. Like, you're using green to show progress. And it's like, okay, well, these are green. Well, this is gray. And, what happens, let's go back to our Protanopia. Or I'm sorry, Color Oracle. Let's take a look at this. Like when I throw Protanopia on this, like the subtlety here is, like, it's just a slightly different version of gray, right? Like, it's so hard to see that you have to be, like, and keep in mind, this would be on a phone, so you would never be that zoomed in, but this is very hard to see, like, what the change is. So that's why the underline becomes important. And that's the big thing that I'm always hoping that you get to. And I never tell students what to do on these exercises, aside from make these more accessible, because they're we have something here that's green, but the green isn't enough by itself. So you've decided to add an underline here. That's exactly what I'm looking for. That's also what I'll be looking for in future assignments from you. I'll be looking for that trip to happen where you go, oh yeah, this isn't accessible enough. I need to add a layer here to make this clearer for everybody involved. This is another example. If we came back in, we said, Protanopia, like, it's a little easier to see. Like, everything isn't grayscale. But what if you didn't have the ability to see color at all? Without that X, graying this potato burrito meal out doesn't do anything for you. And I have seen some other options here where, students have come through and they've said, oh, well, I'll also, I'll do this, I'll put, like, I'll block it out somehow where you can't, it becomes clear that, like, oh wow, maybe there's a strike through that because I can't order it. But you took it really a much clearer path, and you said X not available. Like I can't click through, and then this is a typical flow on mobile. Says, oh, if I tap on this, that will take me to the detail page. So you move from list to focus, and here that's just not available, so you can't click through. Now, there's other pieces of the puzzle there, like should I just remove that? And you could, but one of the problems there is, particularly with like restaurants, you might not know what restaurant to remove it from, because your application may apply to 100 restaurants or 1,000 restaurants. So that's something that you have to look out for, with regard to making system-wide changes. Sometimes you just need to be able to say this one isn't available here. And that gets into like digging into the system that you're utilizing and all those things. But just understand that's a good solution that you've come up with there. So good job overall, Abby. Just on part 2, I'm looking for this to go, instead of white and then you add the color block behind it. Look for solutions that operate a lot more like this, where you're saying, okay, what can I do to add the greatest amount of contrast so that this actually shows up? And then part 1, you did a good job here, but that it's really, can you figure out how to use a tool like Color Oracle? All right, and then we've got Maddie, and that's Jitsi. Okay, so Maddie's got her about page copy, and this is so there's about pages that are really long, and there are about pages that are succinct. And the thing I'm always looking for is, can you tell me a little bit about you? Can you tell me something about you that I can't get out of the rest of the portfolio, that helps fill in the gaps for me? And one of the gaps I'm always looking to fill in is, why are you a designer? Like, why it's not because you enjoy working on you enjoy solving problems. Yeah, great. That tells me what your focus is. That doesn't tell me what got you into design. Okay? So when I read through this, I work with a team of talented designers, developers, and business analysts to create award-winning websites and digital products at Born Group in New York City. We're presently tackling the redesign of a B2B commerce portal for one of the world's telecom giants. You've got presently there. I would like to get like, currently I work with a team of talented designers, developers, business analysts. Like I want currently, like, to start, like I want to put me like, in the present I'm doing this. But then you come back and say we're presently working on so if you say currently I work with a team of talented designers, you can't use presently later. I don't know. I guess leave that there. This last bit down here, types of projects I've worked on: esports viewing experiences, breadth of e-commerce work across natural beauty brands, large national department store chains, purchase loyalty programs, Hidden Valley B2C finance. Something about that makes me, it feels like, because you go from professional to roots to personal note, and then the projects are just kind of tacked on after the personal note. I kind of want to slide this piece here up. I want it to like be somewhere in here, and I think that this is where, you know, you say something like, over the past X number of years, I've had an opportunity to work on a number of interesting projects, including esports, e-commerce, purchase loyalty, B2C. Like that could all go in here. Um, and then you lead into my design roots stem from an unlikely source. Um, Food service, where I came to understand empathy as part of service design. And this is interesting because I could actually see this leading. I could see moving this around in such a way that where this leads. You know, Hi, my name is Maddie. My design roots stem from an unlikely source, food service, where I came to understand empathy as part of service design and design as part of customer service. I grew my design capabilities in the agency world, where I dreamt up experiences that captured the brand union of brand and problem solving, alongside working to sell the value of UX and product design in a traditional media setting. And this also, the way that this ends, I could see this getting tacked on instead to the bottom of this. Um, and then you go into, so gosh, I could see this going so many different ways, because you could say, my design roots, and then come back to the projects, because it's all about this. This sentence right here allows you to walk into the types of projects. Then you come back and say, currently I'm working on, and then you've got this personal note down here that says, on a personal note, I'm curious about the intersection of content strategy, interaction. I love, creative upcycling. I like sketching, and I love my cat. I need to see a picture of you and cat. Okay, ask Eve. I love, especially if your cat looks like a loaf of bread. I want to see that cat being held as if it is a loaf of bread. Eve mastery of the cat that looks like a loaf of bread and holding it as a loaf of bread. So when we look at this, Maddie, this is all really good. I want this to find its way into the body, not to be just kind of tacked on. I actually think it kills the opportunity for you to have some fun here at the end, and make it a little more personal, like show some sketches, or show the cat. Like I want to see that. But with this following, it kind of, you lose the opportunity. It kind of gets disjointed. But once we take this and find a home for it up here, I think you have an opportunity. Now, do you lead with this and follow up? Do you use this to bring, But the problem I have is this really feels like it belongs with that sentence, or that graph. It's almost like a paragraph. It's really long. You might want to break it up. But long story short, is I really like what you've written. I think it needs to be reordered, and I can't quite put my finger on what the best reordering would be, mainly because you start with roots, and then you grew in to the agency world, and then here's these projects, and I'm not certain that all these projects are related to Born. So it's like, do you lead with Born and then follow with projects, or do you lead with your design roots, go into projects, and then close out with Born before your personal note? It could go a bunch of different directions, but it really hinges on, what do you want to do with this? Because I really would not encourage you to leave it hanging out there, because it really fits in pretty well with this, while also getting in the way of you plopping an awesome photo of the cat down there, or your sketches. So that's the long, I like it. I think it needs to be restructured, but the parts are there, and that's the hard part for most people. Most people have a really difficult time identifying the parts that are going to drive this experience. Okay, that was good. That was really good. Let's see. was as if it was as if for a second I just completely lost OBS. All right, Maddie, Abby, Bryn, Ricardo, all good work all the way across. Now, Ricardo, I responded to yours earlier, and Bryn, I responded to yours prior to coming into the session. But I do want to acknowledge like lots of great work this morning. I like it. It's a Tuesday. I like it. We're beginning to find our rhythm. Lots of work coming in. Abby, you actually, Abby, I got to brag on Abby for a second. Abby's working through UX and has managed to work through like 5 or 6 UI projects while she's working through UX. This sort of tandem approach is allowing her to stay busy through what I consider to always be the doldrums of UX, where you have to slow down and you're waiting for people to respond and all of that. So I appreciate Abby's approach, and Eve did a little bit of this with portfolio and fresh market and career. Luigi did this, Chelsea did this, but mostly it's been like downstream for in the career mode where Abby's doing it in the UX. So totally endorse the approach though, because I think it allows you to move through the program faster, and that's ultimately, I don't want you spending half your life with me. I want you getting the reps and getting the feedback and getting out there and getting on to the next phase of your career. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for me. I'm Chris Courtney. This has been the Feedback Loop, and I look forward to seeing the rest of you. Well, I'll see many of you this afternoon, but I'll see the rest of you tomorrow. Take care.